What if the final reveal in the Cottage episode of Heated Rivalry isn't just that Shane and Ilya love each other? What if the final reveal is that they may actually have a life together? Not just secret moments, not just intensity, not just survival, but a life. And maybe that's why this ending to the Cottage episode is subtle, but hit so hard. Because after everything, the hiding, the fear, the longing, the grief, the confession, the panic, the bravery, what we get in the end is almost something ordinary. Boyfriends, a plan, a potential barbecue with the parents, a drive into the next chapter. And that's ordinariness in the miracle. Hello and welcome to the Good Life Lab, where queer stories meet the science and psychology of a good life. Hi, I'm Dr. Dave, and I'm a therapist, college professor, and positive psychology researcher turned YouTuber and content creator. If you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe. I'm just a little bit away from my next milestone, so if you haven't subscribed already, I'd really appreciate it. And if you really enjoy the slow burn gay romance stories like Heated Rivalry, then tune into Fridays where I share my own heated rivalry story, kind of my own journey within, but also in my relationships with men. So it is my true story, but AI enhanced, and I'm calling it Shadowed Longings, the year I tried not to be gay, and the men I could not forget. So check that out Fridays at 3 p.m. All right, we are in the final stretch of these Cottage Clues Revealed episodes, and this is it. This is the final one. I'm counting down from 3 to 2 to 1 today, so the final reveal. And so the first clue revealed, number 3 in this episode, I'm calling Scott Hunter's bravery was a pivot point. You know the scene well, I think, if you've seen this. And it's around the table. Parents are talking with Shane and Ilya about when they first knew what was going on and what was happening. Ilya admits that he actually talked to Scott Hunter. In the book, it's clear that he does that early on because of Scott and Kip coming out. And so he has this, he I guess just had a lunch with Scott Hunter and something Shane didn't even know. But just that admission that for Ilya, this is a really pivotal point for Scott to come out so publicly and has allowed them to not only meet up at the Cottage episode, but then to confess their love for each other, to come out together, to Shane's parents, and then to begin to plan a life together. So a very pivotal moment for both Shane and Ilya in this scene. So Scott Hunter doesn't just have his own story, but the beauty of coming out publicly is that Shane and Ilya see that example, and now it's impacted them. And that really matters because sometimes we don't have the courage in isolation. We have courage in connection with other people. Sometimes we have to borrow courage first by seeing it in other people. We see Shane and Ilya see in the example of Scott that he reveals the truth and he still has a life on the other side of it. And suddenly something shifted in Shane and Ilya. And that's what we see in Scott's example. So Scott's representing that they have a future. They have a possible future together. And from a psychological standpoint, that really matters. Hope often grows through seeing examples of other people going through that. We need visible stories to find courage sometimes. Like I said, to borrow it for a while. In positive psychology, that's sometimes referred to as a pathway, an example for other people to follow. Evidence that there is a road forward. And that's what Scott gives them. His bravery doesn't just inspire, it reorients them to what's possible. All right, Cottage Clue Revealed number 2. I titled this one, They Are Boyfriends. And so this scene is toward the end of the episode, and Shane begins to panic again, a panic attack about his mom talking about what they can do, how to make it public. And he just starts to panic and puts his head down on the table and says I'm okay. I'm just kind of like overwhelmed a little bit. And you see Ilya reach over, rub his back and his neck and says, you're okay. Your parents are here. I'm here. We love you. And he says, your boyfriend's here. And then you see Shane look over at him and is like, we're boyfriends? And Ilya says, yeah, I think so. Yeah. That, again, reassurance, that grounding for Shane that Ilya provides, the sense of safety and security, just by reaching out, rubbing his back and saying that, yeah, I'm here. I'm your boyfriend. We can do this. I got your back. And what I love here again about this reveal is that it's just so ordinary. So it should be really commonplace. But for gay people, just that, hearing that reassurance, boyfriend, girlfriend, for the first time, really, for Shane and for Ilya, that is such a revelation in itself, brings so much comfort. It's not something we can express or even experience easily in our culture. And so that's very ordinary in many ways, or should be, like it is for straight people, but makes it also very profound for gay people. It's true because one of the deepest human longings isn't just to be desired, it's to be able to name what you are to each other. And again, this is why the Cottage episode lands so deeply with viewers and with me. It doesn't just end with fantasy, it moves towards structure and shared language and daily life. And in relationship science, that clarity really matters. Healthy relationships aren't built on ambiguity forever. At some point, mutual naming matters. Shared reality really matters. Knowing who we are to each other really matters. And that's what this scene gives us. Not just love, but definition. And definition can be deeply regulating, especially for Shane in this situation. He needs that regulation. Okay, now we've come to the final reveal, Cottage Clue Reveal number 1. I'm calling it Driving Away Together to Family Barbecue. And so this is where they begin to leave. Shane's parents are walking out and they're kind of sharing, we'll catch up to you later on, get some groceries, and they have a little barbecue, I think. And then they get in the car and there's a big sense of relief as they drive away together. So I don't know if you've caught my conversations with my friend Seamus, who has been on this coming out journey. He's in his mid-20s. And so he said when he saw that scene,
It was just like a picture of like, oh, that's what I want. Like this integration of like your family, like, and your partner, like being integrated and like you're not hiding it. In such a quick time, they were just like integrated. It was really nice for me to see that and be like, oh, that's what I want, is that integration. And so it was a cool scene.
that it just felt so like this is what he's wanted all his life. It's just something so ordinary, just to plan a meal together with your parents and this is just natural. And again, for people who've been in the closet, for gay people who, we're seeing more depictions of that in media where it's just everyday life. But there's still, especially for people in the closet, for people who are kind of stuck in this masculine sports world, where that doesn't seem possible to be that open and that public still in our culture. For me still, and for my friends who are coming out or are on this journey of coming out, this scene is so affirming that this is a reality that can be, even though it's a fantasy, it's fictional, it depicts something that could be real for people. It's a really simple but very powerful scene to end on, because it means the relationship is no longer trapped in secret spaces. It's entering ordinary life, family, home, the next thing on the calendar. And that to me is probably the deepest reveal of all. Not that they love each other. We already know that. We know that's been building throughout the 6 episodes. And then especially in this cottage episode, they confess their love to each other, to the parents. The final reveal is that they can build a life in the open together. That the cottage wasn't the final destination. It's a place where they became honest enough, brave enough, and steady enough to leave it differently. And that's why this drive now away from the parents matters so much. Because now they're not driving away to hide back in the cottage. They're driving forward into the next chapter of their life, which is more openness, more acceptance, more affirmation from the people in their life that they love. And so here's a little psychological reflection for you. And why I like this episode so much, why it's so beautiful, is because it lines up with both positive psychology and relationship science. The good life isn't just about emotional intensity or passion. It's about integration. It's about bringing love into your real life, into your home, into your family, into your future. And healthy, long-lasting relationships are not just built on chemistry. They are built on courage, emotional safety, shared meaning, clear commitment, and a sense that life can be lived, not just fantasized about. And that's what this ending gives us, not just passion, a glimpse of what it means to flourish. And that's why I think this cottage episode feels so satisfying in many ways, like a perfect conclusion to their relationship at this point. Because after all the rivalry, we get real relationship. After all the hiding, we get ordinariness. After all the fear, we finally get some movement. That's the arc. And again, that's why this episode hits me deeply, because for a long time, what I wanted felt so far away from my ordinary life. Love between men was something that was hidden. It was complicated. It was risky. It was really hard to imagine having a boyfriend, much less a partner or a husband, come into my everyday life to meet my family. That was a fantasy for me for a long, long time. So when I see an ending like this, especially after seeing 10 years of their relationship where that's been not the case, it really moves me in a deep way. Because that was my dream for so long, not just a romance in secret, but a life that I could live in the open. And that's why I could be so thankful. It's been, 15 years for me almost now, where I have been more open. I've had a partner and I have this really good life now. And I guess I do take it for granted that just the ordinary things that I experience now, watching Netflix with my partner in the evenings on this couch right here, just being open in public with my family, going on vacations with my siblings, and having Easter parties and Christmas and holidays with my family, with my partner. That's something I've experienced now for 15 years. And so I know other people are just on that journey at very different places on their journey. If you are at the beginning of that journey, or wherever you are on that journey of accepting who you are, I'd love to work with you and to walk with you in that way. If you're finding it hard to do that with somebody, as a coach, I can just share my experience and also the research around how to have a good life, how to make those transitions in your life to be more fully integrated. So please do reach out to me. And also I mentioned I have this other series going on I'm calling Shadowed Longings, the year I tried not to be gay and the men I could not leave behind. It's the beginning of my journey of coming out, coming to terms with who I was, and then also, falling in love with the men I did and navigating those dynamics early on in my story. So check that out. It's an AI enhanced version of my memoir, one of them. I've written many of them. And so I'm going to be revealing chapters of my life as an AI enhanced story on Fridays. So check that out. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I'm trying to reach my next milestone, which opens some doors for me. So I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe if you haven't already. I've come to the end of the Cottage Clues Revealed episodes, and looking forward to what's next. I'm probably going to go back to just some of my favorite scenes from the series, but I'd also love to hear from you. What are your interests in terms of Heated Rivalry? Maybe there's another gay romance series that you'd like to hear reviewed from a psychological perspective. Please let me know in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.